Am I too loud? Alright. So this is Colin. I'm one of the young Rotarians, about a year in Rotary Club, and thank you for having me here today for this session and to facilitate this session on NFTs, which is something that's probably very new that we are hearing into, non-fungible tokens. Now, what is it regarding and how did it start? What is it going to do with the smart contracts and blockchain, and why is it that we can go into it? And of course, the most important thing is how does it relate to Rotary Club? So today we have one of the veterans. Although we talk about veteran in the blockchain industry in this new NFTs, but it is only about 10 years that Colin has dabbling into the world of the crypto. So without further ado, let's welcome Colin to share with us and decode about this thing on a non-fungible token. Hello.
Before you start, happy birthday. From all of us, thank you. We're on video.
This is on.
Let's go practice.
Okay.
We're safe.
Nice and loud. So that reminds me, we have something called clean NFTs. Those are environmentally friendly and have a clean NFT microphone, which is very useful. So decoding NFTs. Of course, everyone has their own exposure to the blockchain, so I'm going to do a quick poll to ask how many people have NFTs already in their wallet and in their lives. We have a slightly younger fella coming in, so that might be a demographic indicator. So decoding NFTs, I'm going to talk a little bit high level, technically about the blockchain and NFTs, just to start from a very simple base, and then we get into some details. My team at TZ APAC, I represent a blockchain called the Tezos blockchain, have put together a deck for me. It's about 45 slides, so that's not quite going to fit 15 minutes, but it does cover the entire industry, so maybe you come back for part two later in the year. But I did want to just start by saying, yes, 2013 was my first exposure to Bitcoin. I actually put $50 into an ATM machine and it spat out a QR code. And I asked the guy, what is that? He said, that's your Bitcoin. I said, okay, what do I do with that? And he said, you have to go and set up a wallet. And this is a recurring theme in the industry. Anyone who starts, joins the blockchain industry and wants to buy tokens like Bitcoin or Ethereum, we need to create a wallet. So this is one of the hurdles that people face. And it's something that we'll just check on as we go through this presentation. This is not financial advice. I can say it all the time. It's very important. The thing that people need to do is their own research. There are acronyms for this. DYOR, do your own research. If you're going to see that, you might want to take extreme care when looking at a project or thinking about buying an NFT or non-fungible token. Here's where we're going to try and go. We might get to about here before I run out of time, so let's try and skip through it. Of course, you can ask questions at the end. We have moderation ready and waiting. So what is a blockchain? Smart contracts. What are NFTs? How to buy them? What's the impact, for example, on the art industry? Brief history of NFTs, a lot of use cases, and what's the future for NFTs? Why are they so important to us and the global economy? So, what is a blockchain? Who knows what a blockchain is? Who would like to explain what the blockchain is in their own understanding? Early volunteers. Well, my favorite description is it's a chain of blocks. So that's probably the best possible definition, which is encrypted, absolutely. So here is where the tech guys like to start thinking about encryption in particular. So you have a blockchain. That is data which is in a block. It's very important data and it needs to be secure. So the first blockchain, the Bitcoin blockchain, created this logic to make sure that the blockchain data was immutable and incorruptible. Very important logic. The encryption behind it is SHA-256, which is a really important level of encryption. So It's a combination of engineering, cryptology, and some smart thinking in terms of architecture and decentralization, which we'll touch on shortly. One good example I like to talk about is the filing cabinet. So if you imagine each one of these blocks is a filing cabinet, and it's full of information, and it's chained to the next one. So anytime you want to break into that or change that, either you have to be a really good hacker, or you need to get consensus, agreement with everyone in the network to change that information. This is constantly monitored, so there are nodes all around the world monitoring the blockchain to make sure any changes are approved and done in the correct way. So it's a very important logic behind the blockchain, is that it's driven by consensus, everyone agrees with updates and changes. Structure of blockchain, of course, nodes are computers. People actually volunteer to secure the network. The most important thing about a blockchain is it rewards good behavior. It incentivizes people to do good things, such as securing this network of information. And so for the Bitcoin blockchain, people obviously run a puzzle, it's called proof of work, and they try and find a nonce, which is a unique character for each block. The first guy to find that character gets to set the block and gets a reward for securing the chain and securing the data in that filing cabinet, making sure that that's 100% verifiable. So it's a good metaphor, a good way to understand how people support these in a decentralized way the blockchain, because they are rewarded to do so. Smart contracts, this is an innovation that came with Vitalik Buterin and Ethereum. So to make his blockchain, the Ethereum blockchain, useful, he created a logic called smart contracts, which enable people to build apps on top of that blockchain. Bitcoin blockchain is very simple. You just run a program, get your reward, post the transaction, and exchange of Bitcoin. Very simple. Ethereum allowed people to create contracts which made apps possible. So you can actually do clever things such as exchange assets. Really important concept for NFTs. So smart contracts, they are also not requiring third parties. So there's code executing when conditions are met. So if two parties have agreed a particular convention for exchanging assets, then the contract can execute and those assets can be exchanged. A wallet will send a token to another wallet, those conditions are met. So it's quite an important way to understand how smart contracts work. When you talk to the engineers, you talk to the coding guys, when you talk about what's underpinning the blockchain, this is the kind of language that you're going to have to get to understand. And in a way, it is useful to try and understand at least some of the coding behind smart contracts, because there are, unfortunately, some people who are not quite as proper as they should be, and they can put things in the code which could actually cause issues later on. So you have to be very careful with smart contracts. It's very important to get them audited if you're providing blockchain services to people to prove that they cannot be hacked or otherwise tampered with. NFTs, non-fungible tokens. People call them NFTs because they don't like to say the word fungible too often. So non-fungible tokens. Fungibility is exchangeability. Basically, for example, if you have one Bitcoin over here and one Bitcoin over here, you can actually exchange that Bitcoin with one another peer-to-peer without any issues. You can exchange it with anyone on the Bitcoin blockchain, any wallet-to-wallet transaction. Everyone will accept your Bitcoin as long as you send them Bitcoin too, or you exchange something which is equally fungible. In terms of NFTs, they are incredibly unique pieces of code, hash data, which are put on the blockchain. So probably one of the more famous NFTs are CryptoPunks. One of the more original NFTs created a small pen art, 10,000 items issued, unique and scarce and given free to the community a few years ago. Now they're worth a significant amount of money because they have rarity and distinction. Every single one is unique, and every single address on the blockchain is unique. You cannot exchange this punk for this punk, like for like. It doesn't work that way. So the non-fungible position is really important. It is a unique entry on the blockchain, unique to itself, and therefore it's something which is usually rare, and ownership can be proven to a single person. So ownership is really the important factor behind non-fungible tokens. if you have a token registration on the blockchain in your wallet, it proves categorically that you are the owner of the item which it relates to. Now that item can be a lot of things, a lot of media, but this is the important factor. NFTs, ownership. It's proof of authenticity to a degree, but proof of ownership is the most important part of NFTs. Obviously there's very few things which can't be tokenized. A lot of the world is being put into token form. A lot of virtual worlds are being put into token form. A lot of content, such as the NBA video clips, are being put into token form. So whilst the media itself is put on a normal server, the ownership of that media is put on the blockchain. So it cannot be taken away from the person who bought it. In terms of the metaverse, we'll touch on that later. You have the opportunity to buy virtual land, and that token, an NFT, will basically be a deed, a title deed to that virtual land. It does come into the real world as well. There is a lot of merchandise which is being proven by, in terms of ownership and authenticity for NFTs, and of course everything is recorded on the blockchain, so you can 100% say that you are one of the owners of a limited range of sneakers or trainers, as we call them. If there's 100 of them, and each one is worth $1,000, then you can trade those sneakers. But in the physical world, you also have to pass on those sneakers too, so you have to find a way to not just sell the token, but also pass the sneakers to the person buying them. I think the most expensive sneakers are $1.2 million Yeezys, so that NFT was quite an expensive NFT. Briefly, how to buy an NFT? Well, this is something I bought when I was working at another blockchain called Zilliqa. This is Moonboy, he's a very famous crypto artist. This is a rapper called Soulja Boy, who's got a very large following on YouTube. And what's interesting about this is I own these. I'm the only person that owns these NFTs, and what I actually own is this. This is a contract address, that's my contract address. This is the token that I own, the NFT that I own. And so when I wish to download this content, there's a download button there, then it asks me to sign for it. So I use my wallet to sign that I am 100% the owner of this NFT. So it's quite an important verification system. If you want to look at the details behind certain things, this is the Ethereum blockchain contract. You can actually see all the transactions around, for example, this Baking 8 NFT. And it's quite a good historical record. You can see the value and exchanges of your own content. I've got a small video on how to buy an NFT, so this might hopefully put some flash on there. So this is a short video, it's only a couple of minutes, but it shows you the process that we go through to buy an NFT.
Today we're going over every step you need to take to start investing in the upcoming trend. Before we get started, we do need to point out that this is not financial advice, so always do your own research before investing. So the first step to actually purchasing an NFT is to set up a wallet. Not this kind of wallet, but a crypto wallet. This is going to allow us to actually buy the NFT, and we're going to have the funds inside of that to be able to purchase it. So to start this whole process out, we're going to want to go ahead and head over to OpenSea. This is where we're going to be buying the NFT from. And to start, click on the profile at the top right-hand corner and then just click Profile. This is where you're going to be able to set up a wallet. So the most popular wallet right now is MetaMask. So just click on that and it's going to bring you to the MetaMask website where you'll be able to actually install for Chrome. Click Install MetaMask for Chrome and it will bring you to the Chrome Web Store where you're going to actually be able to install the app. Go ahead and add the extension and then wait for it to download. After it's done installing, it's going to pop up this browser and you're going to be able to get started setting it up. So just click Get Started and then create a wallet. After this, go ahead and create the terms and create a password. Then just press next, and then you're going to get your secret recovery phase. This is really important that you don't give anyone this information, so we're just gonna go ahead and say remind me later. Now you'll be brought to your wallet page. This is where you're gonna be able to add the funds to your wallet. You need to do this in order to actually purchase the NFT. So here you can either buy Ethereum or you can transfer if you already have a wallet set up. In order to get your wallet address, all you wanna do is look at the top of your screen and then you can click it to copy to the clipboard. But basically, once all this is done, then we can head back over to OpenSea and follow the same steps we did before, clicking profile in the top right-hand corner and then clicking MetaMask. This will open the MetaMask notification and then you'll be able to actually connect your MetaMask wallet. Go ahead and press next and then press connect and you're all good to go. Once you do this, you've created your profile and now we can start shopping for the NFT. In order to find NFTs on OpenSea, you head over to the Explore tab and this is where you can see every collection that's public right now. Or you can press the stats and ranking to see the top collections for this week, past 24 hours, whatever you can think of. Go ahead and find a project that you want to end up purchasing into. We'll choose the sandbox for this example. Then scroll down and find an NFT that you want to mint. We'll go ahead and choose this one right here. We can see that this is 3.55 ETH, so I will have to have this amount in my wallet ready to go. Then it's as simple as pressing buy now. Then you'll be brought to this page and you just check the box to agree to the terms of service and then you'll be able to confirm checkout if you have the correct funds in your wallet. And it's really as simple as that. You're now invested in the NFTs, and if you found this video helpful, then be sure to subscribe because we have NFT guides coming out every single day. But before you invest any money at all, you need to know these 7 things. So be sure to
So, I don't find that complicated. This is one of the things the industry really struggles with, is making this process as easy as possible. In fact, there's a number of sites trying to make buying NFTs just a 3-click process, and all of this wallet creation and private key collection is done in the background, and you don't have to worry about anything. So I think it's going to come to a point where it becomes very user-friendly, but for now, those are the steps that everyone has to go through to buy an NFT. So one of the most important things for my team actually is to focus on the art industry, because NFTs can be used to prove a number of things. Provenance is certainly key, ownership is certainly key, and the fact that something has been sold, for example, by an auction house in a correct way without anyone intervening in the process. So the thing is, for the artists, they can now build in royalty features into their sales of their works. Physical works, yes, that can be married to an NFT, but purely digital artwork is just, it's made so much easier for the artist to build in their royalty rates into the NFT. So every time an artwork is sold, it can reclaim royalty for the artist. It could be sold 3 times, 5 times, 10 times in future, and the price could be really high or very low, but the artist will always get 5% or 10% or 15% because the smart contract says so. It will execute that and send it to the artist's wallet. So for artists, it's become a major source of revenue now, one that is highly auditable and very important, because previously galleries used to take quite a large chunk of the sale, maybe up to 30% of some of these ticket prices, and the artists always felt that they were kind of losing out on the deal. Now they can sell direct to the public and they can get their royalties built in, and there's no argument over the payment. Yeah, so recently we did an art exhibit in Sea Focus, which is Singapore Art Week. We actually had a gallery with digital screens. All the digital artists from Southeast Asia were putting up their artworks. But probably the most interesting one, which actually just didn't quite fit on here, is generative art. So generative NFTs are now a big classification. These are artworks which have artificial intelligence and algorithms generating new versions of the art. So you can have one particular image and then generate 100, 1,000, depending on the number of new artworks, which are completely unique because the AI algorithm is different every single time. In this particular example, the artist took out a hash reference from the blockchain, exploded it on screen, and then reinserted it into the blockchain, and then the person who minted that design got that unique design at that moment to their wallet. So generative art is really powerful, really compelling. And a lot of people came to our exhibit and said, can you put this in my office foyer? Because it's really cool when people can do NFT stuff with my brand and with my business. The other thing this artist has done, we've got a campaign for saving tigers, Bengal tigers particularly, called Tiger Stripes, launching this week. He created 2,792 tiger images, and each one regenerates with a particular AI technology called Walker. So it walks through the tiger stripe fur, recreates a new fur pattern, because every tiger fur is unique, and it does so with walkers which are actually designed as tigers. So it's tigers walking through tiger fur, creating tiger stripes. It's a beautiful piece of artwork, and this is the new innovations in art which are taking place because of the merging of technology and the blockchain, and the fact that people can really push the limits of AI to create incredibly valuable pieces which are totally unique and recognized as such on the blockchain. So the industry is changing dramatically, and there's a lot more to come from that side. Art communities are very interesting. Obviously, we have Tezos communities all around the region. What's interesting is that now artists are creating directly their own followers, their own groups of people who are very excited about what they're doing. If you are on Twitter and you ever see Twitter Spaces come up and talk about NFTs, huge numbers of artists will come on and share their experiences and share their excitement about particular works of art and NFTs that they're promoting. Clubhouse is another app which has a lot of NFT discussion groups. You can learn really quickly. You can educate yourself very quickly by coming onto these spaces. What's probably even more interesting is China has an issue with crypto and of course has banned all tokens. So they created a new form of NFT called a DDC, Decentralized Digital Collectible. So you can actually use the digital yuan, stable coin currency, to buy DDCs in China. So at least you can still sell artwork within China. But what's happened, because the blockchain is decentralized and those communities are very interested in selling and making art, they actually have created lots of groups on WhatsApp for individual artists, and they are actually meeting up on WhatsApp to discuss the art and artwork the artists are creating, and still using VPNs to use wallets to buy NFTs, even though it's technically illegal. So this is the one thing about the blockchain and the ecosystem, is that it's really about decentralization and power to the people, I would say. How's the time going?
Yeah, I think I want to complete this part, and then we can start with the Q&A.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
this is where I was going to start with all the history of NFTs, but it's an encyclopedic presentation, so that is probably the first one-on-one introduction to NFTs and where the state of the market is today. I'm very happy to take questions.
Yeah. Thank you, Colin. Thank you. Yes. So I'm not sure whether right now anyone has any questions. If you have any questions, raise your hand, and we will pause the question. Any as well. This room. As a meeting and this room.
You mentioned that in the art piece, but you can actually link NFTs to physical works. I only heard of them in context of digital art. How do you link to a physical work?
Yeah, that takes a little bit of work. There was a particular auction by the grandson of a postmodernist Russian artist that I was involved with 2 years ago. There was an original work of art, because obviously his grandfather had passed, and the family estate wished to update that and put that into an NFT marketplace to auction it for the estate. But what they also did was create digital copies of that art as well. So like a series of small postcards of that artwork, limited edition, run of 6, and another larger run of 100. So they had a digital copy, they had the physical item, which only one person could buy, and then they had the opportunity for people to resell it. So once the auction had taken place, the owner was confirmed, the artwork was shipped to that person, and they had physical artwork, digital representation, and NFT ownership via the token. So for the real art world, that is going to become a much stronger influence on certifying ownership of artworks, as well as verification, which is done again normally by professional experts.
Let's ask to Suresh and.
Colin, you said, suppose I'm an artist and I put up my paintings through OpenSeas and I sell for NFTs, but you said NFTs are non-fungible, so non-exchangeable. So how do I convert it into a crypto or cash?
Yeah, so effectively you're getting a record a certification of ownership, and people are paying you in mostly Ethereum, Ether, right? So the Ether is what you would trade out to fiat currency. So someone would give you 10 ETH. You saw the example there was $11,000 for one NFT. So when you go back onto an exchange, you trade that out for
What do you call it
Ether.
NFT when you're paying in Ether? When you're paying in Ether, what do you call it NFT?
Well, the token is not something you can swap, but the Ether is what gets you the token. So you have to have fungible tokens to buy non-fungible tokens most of the time, apart from China where you have to have digital yuan.
Hi, I have one quick question. The crypto landscape has actually evolved quite a bit. I mean, it's still growing. So what's your take on all these different kinds of crypto? I mean, there's Dogecoin, there's Ethereum, there's Bitcoin, now there's fungible tokens. And now you also spoke about these tokens then buying some kind of asset. I mean, there's a two-step investment on into crypto, which I don't know how valuation-wise it will kind of come back to it, right? You have to first value the crypto, then you have to value the asset, and you have to value the crypto buying the asset, right? So what's your take on what's your take on all these different things floating out there in the crypto land?
Well, for most normal people, it's very confusing. If you say there are 8,572 tokens to choose from, people do get a bit confused. But obviously there's a lot of ranking systems. So you'll see CoinMarketCap will rank tokens by price valuation every day. It's updated based on all the trading information. So effectively it's what people are prepared to pay. So if someone is prepared to give you $40,000 for a Bitcoin and you accept that trade sets the market price. So there must be something behind the token to give people the trust and the faith in that project, in that community, and it must have utility. So utility, people talk about that a lot. It must be able to allow you to do something useful. So it may be very specific. For example, the Bending 8 project and the CryptoPunks project was bought yesterday by another entity, and they're going to launch their own ape coin. Everyone's desperately signing up to get the ape coin because that ape coin might enable them to buy more NFTs in the future and have additional perks. So token utility is fundamental. So if you look at, there's a coin called Demons, for example. They have Demon Verse and they have lots of demon designs, which are very cool. But now these static NFTs are going to be used as avatars for fighting games in a separate metaverse. So you start with an NFT and you can create a lot of interest and excitement and gaming fun for the content. But in order to manage the NFT, you need the DMZ coin. So if you wanted to rename the monster from John to Tom, you would have to pay DMZ to change the name. So utility is really important in the token economies.
Hi Colin, thanks for the lovely presentation. I had two questions. First, the opening a wallet here. Like I did it for cryptocurrency in Binance, and now all of a sudden I come to know that Binance is just gone. It took me a lot of time to struggle to open that. Now, currently the wallet you mentioned about by NFTs, is it, I'm sure very fact we're talking is legal in Singapore now. How difficult it is to open? Not like Binance, it goes and limit, there's a limit of amount also, you cannot do more than 20,000 Sing dollars and 20,000 Sing dollars. Is there any limit on that wallet? Second thing, this one part. Second question is, now if I sell NFT and if I make a profit, is it taxable? If I make a loss, can I adjust with the annual returns? These are two questions. Thank you.
Yeah, for the first part, the challenge with centralized exchanges is that they are very strictly controlling the money flow in and around their ecosystem. So it's a wallet, but it's a wallet which you have access to, but you don't really own the money on Binance or on Gemini or on Coinbase. They're actually holding it on your behalf. So it's a slightly different scenario. They get to set the rules. They can limit your exchange and everything else. For a decentralized wallet, which you can download on Google Play, you can actually theoretically trade unlimited amounts of tokens as long as you have them available. So it's centralized versus decentralized in a sense. So centralized exchanges help onboard people and manage the risk quite effectively, and they do have a lot of government authority oversight. But decentralized wallets would allow you the freedom to move very large amounts of tokens around the ecosystem without anyone being able to lock them and get involved. And tax-wise, I'm not a tax lawyer, at the moment capital gains tax, there is none on crypto in Singapore and several other countries around the world. So it's usually okay.
If I may add on to Colin's, the only one that probably if you want to be very safe in terms of getting crypto will be Independent Reserve in Singapore. That's the one that's actually being licensed right now. Yeah. So if any one of you are looking at getting crypto. Okay, next question.
Thanks, Colin. Michael here. Actually, I really love what you're doing. Because actually on my side as well, we actually do preservation of legacies, the pioneer artists of Singapore. So actually I have a question around governance and intellectual property, because that's something that always comes out when I have a chat with my artists. So the current standing that at least I've understood is that you can decouple it. Ownership versus copyrights. But what's your take on this? How do we ensure, say for example, we put up an NFT, right? If there is some form of counterfeit, how do we then, put it from a liability about litigation perspective? How do you kind of like say, please take it down, for example?
Yeah, the normal rules don't apply really to the Web3 community. It's really the separation between the ownership and the item itself. I don't think there's any way to lock it down or put a gatekeeper in front of it or demand people have to jump over a particular barrier to just see the content. On Mintable, because it's a centralized exchange, it asks me to sign that information before I can download that item. But once it's downloaded, then I can forward it 1,000 times. It's good that I own it, but for anyone else, they could simply forward it. Yeah. So that digital replication, generally the community believes that it's in favor of the artist because it's spreading promotion of the art and the artwork, and the people that are really interested and wish to own and invest in that artist will then take the necessary steps to buy the NFT and get the ownership, or join the DAO which owns the artwork. So I don't think you're ever going to be able to really stop the mass duplication of images, but if you want the original, if you want the high resolution and physical asset, then you still have to do that.
All right, any questions? If not, wow. Thank you very much, Colin. Really, I believe every one of us have really learned a lot in this short half-an-hour session. And probably one of the key things that we are looking at is because Colin is now giving an overview introduction about what is it. And probably for those who have not started in dabbling into crypto as well as NFT, might be wondering, when he talked about things like, for example, OpenSea, what is it about? MetaMask, what is it, right? So I was just thinking, if we want to continue with this education process in terms of learning about crypto, about blockchain, right? Is there any avenue which we could go into for our further education? Because this is revolving right now, and things are always changing. In future, we might even in Singapore we're looking at digital currency. People are going into it. Even the banks are also going into it. So where's the best place, maybe I would ask Colin, to go into to get ourselves updated with the latest information?
I think there are a few also veteran websites that educate tremendously. 101 Blockchains is a really good website for a lot of information, especially on this enterprise adoption of blockchain. In terms of the media, Cointelegraph is a very important repository of information for for individual projects. Each individual project will have their own wiki, they'll have their community groups, so depending on how comfortable you are in joining a particular project channel, you can learn a lot from a project from the people working on it, and you can obviously ask tough questions as well directly to that project. So you can start slowly. YouTube has a lot of material, huge amount of material. Everybody wants to be a crypto influencer. They want to get a huge subscriber base, so they're generating a lot of content. Like that nice kid from America who's telling us how to use OpenSea. There's tremendously large repository of information there. So a simple search, how do I, anything like that will get you some very simple, straightforward video.
Thank you. Thank you, Colin. Please give him a round of applause. Thank you so much. Sorry?
If you love reading, the best book is Dummies for Blockchain and 101. I read another book.
Thank you so much. Thank you. There's also another book, Token Economy, if you want to read more about, but that one is a little bit more technical. Thank you, Suraj. Thank you, Colin. Thank you, everyone. I'll pass the stage over back to Sunani.